Singer K. Michelle has opened up in painful detail about the devastating and deeply personal consequences she faced after undergoing a black market Brazilian butt lift, revealing a journey marked not by glamour or confidence, but by years of suffering, regret, and ongoing health complications that continue to affect her life in ways she never imagined. Now 44 years old, Michelle shared that back in 2012, she made a decision that would alter the course of her health and well-being for years to come. At the time, she received what she later learned were illegal silicone injections in her buttocks. What may have initially seemed like a cosmetic enhancement quickly turned into a prolonged nightmare, as the substances injected into her body began to cause severe complications. Over the years that followed, she has endured nearly a decade of repeated surgeries, each one an attempt to remove the silicone and undo the damage that had already spread through her body, while also trying to reclaim some sense of normalcy in her health. Michelle, who is currently starring on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, recently revealed that she had to undergo yet another reconstructive surgery. This procedure was necessary to remove infected tissue that had developed in her buttocks, a direct result of complications stemming from one of her earlier corrective surgeries. The cycle of procedures has not only taken a physical toll, but has also weighed heavily on her emotionally, as each attempt to fix the issue seems to uncover new challenges rather than bring closure. As she spoke about the ordeal, Michelle recalled a particularly distressing moment that happened shortly before she was set to perform at the 2024 Academy of Country Music Awards. What should have been a proud and exciting moment in her career turned into a deeply humiliating and frightening experience. She described how her condition had worsened to the point where her buttocks began leaking just before she was supposed to go on stage. "I was standing there in a bathrobe. Everyone was blow-drying me down just to get me on stage to sing," she said, painting a vivid picture of the chaos and desperation behind the scenes. Instead of preparing mentally and emotionally for her performance, she found herself surrounded by people trying to manage a physical crisis, doing whatever they could in those moments to help her hold it together long enough to fulfill her professional commitment. The emotional weight of everything she has endured became overwhelming as she continued to speak, and Michelle broke down in tears. Through sobs, she expressed the deep regret that has stayed with her ever since she made the decision to undergo the procedure. Her words carried the kind of pain that only comes from living with the consequences of a choice that cannot be undone. "I just hate that I did this to myself. It's the worst thing I ever did to myself, and I've paid for it for years," she cried, her voice filled with anguish and self-reflection. It was not just a statement of regret, but a raw acknowledgement of the long-term impact this decision has had on her body, her health, and her peace of mind. Michelle went on to clarify that the root of her health issues was not necessarily the Brazilian butt lift procedure itself, but rather the dangerous and unregulated substances that were used. She explained that the silicone injected into her body is what ultimately caused her to become sick, as it did not remain confined to the area where it was initially placed. "The actual thing that has made me sick isn't the BBL, it's the injections I got involving silicone," she explained, emphasizing the distinction between a regulated procedure and the risks associated with black market alternatives. Over time, the silicone began to migrate through her body, spreading beyond her buttocks and into her legs, creating complications that became increasingly difficult to manage. One of the most devastating realizations for Michelle came when she learned that no matter how many surgeries she undergoes, it is impossible to completely remove the silicone from her body. This understanding marked a turning point in how she views her situation, shifting from a hope of full recovery to an acceptance of permanent consequences. "The hardest thing for me was learning that no matter what I do and how many surgeries, I will never get that silicone out of my body. It will be forever in me," she said, her words reflecting both resignation and heartbreak. The idea that something harmful will remain inside her indefinitely is a burden she now has to carry, not just physically, but mentally as well. She added, "I will never be fully healed," a statement that underscores the lasting impact of her experience. It is not just about the visible effects or the surgeries she has undergone, but about the knowledge that her body will never return to the state it was in before 2012.